Alright, so on the 2nd of September, I got two tattoos. So after saving for maybe like 3 or 4 months, I was finally able to get them at the start of this month, and I got one on my right forearm and one on my left forearm as well. I was really happy about them. Honestly, I was really excited, and I'm still really excited whenever I look at them. And during the process of like getting them and choosing to get tattoos, which it has been like maybe like a year and a half to 2 years of me like being like, okay, I would like to get a tattoo and being serious about it. In that process, I had to ask myself, who am I? Because I wanted to get tattoos which really reflected who I am. I wanted to get tattoos that were meaningful to me and that I knew were not just like a season. And during this process, I realized the importance of asking yourself, who am I? Because, when I was asking myself that question, it became this space for me to be like, to self reflect, to build a sense of like self awareness, to inquire about things about myself. And I know maybe it's normal for some people, but I think that for me personally, as someone who grew up and was living a life that was very based on what other people think or the fear of what other people thought of me, asking myself who am I and giving myself that space to really reflect on me and not worry about what other people may think, what other people may say, it was life changing. And I think also now also doing like more research and going on YouTube about it, I realized that asking yourself that question not only built my self-awareness, but it also gave me a sense of direction, because as I was becoming more aware of what I enjoyed, what I appreciated, what I desired, my expectations maybe of other people, it gave me more of like an understanding of my direction, of where I wanted to go. And and honestly, even like as a man, that is such a powerful thing to have, because when you have that sense of direction, it is easier to lead, and it's easier for other people to follow you, because I'm sure we all have like desires, maybe wanting to be a husband, wanting to be a father, or anything of that nature. And as you lead from a place where you understand your sense of direction, it makes it so much easier for the people around you to understand you, but also to communicate with you, because they are coming to you understanding the framework that you're working from, and it's easier for them to allow their ideas to also come to build onto your direction. And so I think that asking yourself, who am I, is such a beautiful thing, because it opens the space for that collaboration more easily with your partner, whoever it may be. And now, the second reason why it's so important to ask yourself, who am I, is because that question challenges you. What I've realized is that when I ask myself, who am I, the reason why I was scared to do it was because it meant that I had to shed a mask off of me. Because as I said, a lot of the times I was operating from a place where I was worried about what other people thought, worried about what other people would think. I was operating from a place which was I was doing things based on what other people expected of me. And so by asking myself, who am I, it meant that I had to take responsibility for my own decisions. And that is scary. That was scary to me. But it was important, because it meant that I had to start operating from a place of boldness and courage, that was authentically me. That it's not something you can it's not a boldness or courageousness that you can recreate based on what other people expect of you, but it's something that I had to come to I had to build in myself based on what I believed, based on what I wanted to, based on the decisions that I made. And in that, it meant that I also had to take into account that I will make mistakes. And that was another thing that kind of like made me scared to ask myself, who am I? Because it's easy for me to make decisions based on what other people expect of me, because it's safe. I can easily, if something bad happens or a mistake happens, I can easily say, it's because of that, or it's because I was doing something that they thought, or they asked me to do, or they did it, or I thought that they wanted me to do. It gives me an easy escape. But as a man, you are built to be in the front. You are built to be you are built to have to hold that weight of decision making, and at the same time that weight of making mistakes. I think one of the coolest things in Genesis is like when God came after Adam and Eve had sinned. When God came, the first person who came to was Adam, and he asked him the question. He asked him the question, what happened? He didn't first go to Eve, but he started with Adam because that was his role. He was built to cover his wife. Even in the decisions that she had made, he still had to cover. He had a responsibility to cover her. And so in whatever line of life that you are in, may not be in marriage, you may be single or in a relationship, you have to take confidence in the fact that you are built to make those decisions, and take confidence that as you grow in that muscle, because it is a muscle as well, it's not something that you develop, we're all developing it. As you grow in that muscle, God has equipped you with everything that you need to make those decisions. He is your counsel. He's the person who has blessed you with that boldness in you. So yeah, take courage in that. So I definitely encourage you to just take courage in that and growing in your decision making. And then the third reason why asking yourself, who am I, such an important question, is because that question grounds you in God. One of the most powerful verses in the Bible is when Jesus is probably in Matthew or somewhere in the Gospels, when Jesus comes back and he is looking at the people who did good in his name, who cast out demons, who did good works, etc., etc. And he says to them, "Get away from me, for I do not know you." And I think that that word "know" is so powerful, because what it means is that the relationship that Jesus and those people had was not real. It was not based on anything that was authentic. Those people kept a mask of good godly behavior, good godly perception. They did good things, but they did not allow God to meet them and to meet their real selves, who they really were. They didn't allow God to love them in their quirks. They didn't allow God to love them in their sinful nature. They didn't allow God to love them in the unique way that God made them to think, to express themselves. The things that make you you, the weird things, the fun things, the funny things, the awkward things, all of that, they didn't allow God to know them in that way. And so it's so important to ask yourself, who am I? Because when we ask ourselves that question, it allows us to meet God where he is already, because he already loves us in that authenticity of ourselves. And so when we ask ourselves, who am I? We are like, okay, God, why do you love me for me? We ask ourselves questions. We start to learn about things that we like. We start to learn about the behaviors. We start to build this self-awareness that builds this beautiful relationship with God that is made out of a knowingness of each other. It's so much more intimate. It's so much more real. There is no barrier. There is no fakeness about it. It is me, Hans, in all of me, getting to know Jesus. And that is we can only get to that point when we ask ourselves, who am I? And so that's why I think it's such a powerful question to ask ourselves. And I encourage you to also ask yourselves that as well. Yeah, and so in this video, I really also want to just to give you more my context in terms of how I approach that question, my journey in asking myself, who am I? My journey with self-awareness and how that's gone, and how I've addressed my own people pleasing or people fearing behavior as well. So yeah, I just wanted to just speak about that honestly. So for me, I would say that there was a shift that happened in how I answered this question in, I'm gonna say, late 2023, because in that time I was coming off a really terrible time mentally, and after I was coming through it, I made the decision to start Seasons of the Cross. And the reason why it was such a pivotal moment for me is because for so long, my content until that point was very closed off. I was scared. I didn't want people to see me doing like videos. I didn't want people to see me or watch me. And even more so having other people in the videos as well. I don't think I could have done, I definitely could have not done that. I remember there was a point where I would like post and I would even post like a mic. Like if you go to the Casual Collective, the first video I have, I'm shooting with a mic that's not working, because and the reason why I was doing that is because I didn't want, like that mic to me was like a shield to protect people from seeing me. So so really honestly, like even as I was doing this content, it was so hard for me to do it because I didn't want people to see. But Seeds of the Cross and me making the decision to say, I'm going to create content with other people and I'm going to start like putting it out there. I'm gonna start posting about it. I'm gonna start speaking to people about it. That was, bro, that was the first moment where it was like, whoa, like what's going on here? And another reason why I found it really difficult, or why I say that it was such a impactful decision, is because it was the first time where I said, hey God, I'm going to be starting this. I'm going to be starting Seeds of the Cross. It wasn't like this thing where, it wasn't like from this place where I had been fasting and praying for, or I'd been waiting for, oh, God said, showed me a dream, or or that thing. It was just like, yo, I'm going to be doing this. And it was the first point where in my relationship with God, where it was like, I made a decision and I had to trust that God was either going to be there for me or was going to watch me fail. And and so when I was doing this, when I made that decision, it was such a beautiful thing, because it allowed me to trust God more. It allowed me to kind of like like do like a trust fall, where God, I'm going to be doing this. I hope that you're going to be there for me. And lo and behold, God shows up. He starts making it easier for me to ask questions. I start like growing my skills as an interviewer. I start like, he starts putting people in my life to interview. People are accepting, people are so open and like really encouraging of it. And like me making that decision, it also gave me confidence in how God gave me the confidence to do that. I hope that makes sense. But it was like, because I made a decision and God walked with me. He didn't just say, bro, what are you doing? And I think a reason why I had that fear is because for so long my relationship with God was very rigid. It was, I don't I was living in fear of God rather than in love. I was scared of like rocking the boat. I didn't want to do anything that could make him sad. I didn't want to do anything that could make him angry. And so I was living in this fear of like, I didn't want to do anything that he doesn't explicitly say, or and so you're living in like this glass box that I've created in my head. And so Seeds of the Cross was the first time where, I made this decision. And thank you so much to God still, because God gives us these visions, right? And he gives us these desires to do these things. So obviously it's from God, but I chose to do it. I put in the effort to do it, and I saw him show up for me in a way that I was so shocked. And it led me to this beautiful space of growing in my faith, in my confidence of me as a person, of my decisions, and that he's going to be there for me. And that was such a beautiful thing. And so because of that decision, very slowly but under the surface, things started to change. The way that my confidence started to grow, the way that I express myself started to grow, the way that I interact with other people started to grow. It stopped being from this fear of other people, but I started to see the beauty in others, the beauty in collaboration, the beauty in being a part of a community. And this journey and this growth culminated in I'll say late December 2024. No, 2023, sorry, when I decided to get braids. Ooh, yeah. That was a whole different time, because when I decided to get braids, that was the first time where I made a decision to change something about my appearance in a drastic way. And I say drastic because I'm sorry for laughing, because this is it's so weird looking back. But when I decided to get braids, it was the first time I made a decision to change something about my appearance, and it was something which I think visually it was the first time other people started to see whoa, Hans is not the same. And I remember in this time when I made the decision to get braids, and when I was talking to people about it, when I eventually got it, one of the first responses was from, I'm going to say it was either my brother, I think it was Zulu Boy, my brother Zulu Boy. He was like, Hans from high school, who is this? Hans from high school would never, I can't even imagine Hans doing this. And it was the first time where I made a decision that was so different from what other people thought, what other people expected of me. And that comment really struck me, because when he said that Hans from high school would never do this, or I would never expect Hans to do this, was it was a moment for me to realize that the decisions that I was making, and me actually following through on some of the choices that I was making, it meant that I was operating from a place of God confidence. And shout out to my boy Gina for teaching me about that. But I was starting to operate from a place of God confidence, where I was no longer bound by what other people expected of me, or not that what other people expected of me, but what I thought other people expected of me. Because usually people don't I'm gonna be honest, people don't give a fuck about you, bro. They have so many things going on, and they have so many things people are focused on themselves. But it's what I thought, what other people expected of me, that always used to shackle me. But when I broke that, that was the first time where when he said that, it was the first time I realized I was operating from that point of view. And I really appreciate God for that. I really appreciate God for those moments, because it was really, that those are confirmations for me of Hans, you're actually doing it. You're actually growing as a person and in your confidence, which I really appreciate. Alright, and then the third situation that I feel just perfectly fits into this, into my journey with growing in my self-awareness, is happened in July of 2024, when I made the decision to get ear piercings. And the reason why I wanted to include this, me getting piercings, was because this, when I told people about it, when I told my friends and family, it was the first time where I received pushback, where I received people were not so keen about me doing it. And the reason why is because they felt that I was maybe doing it, they thought that I was doing it out of a sense of peer pressure, or I was doing it out of a sense of following what's cool. And I remember honestly at the time feeling a bit hurt, because for you to think that of me, I was kind of my feelings were hurt a bit. But it was the first time where I had to really come back and really sit down again and go back to who am I? And by extension, why am I doing this? And it was the first time where I had to really map out and go and delve deep into the reasons why I was doing this, why I want to do it. And when I came to the core of it, I realized that I really want to get piercings because that's a way that I feel like I would look better. It was a way of me expressing myself, of me wanting to, take care of my appearance, to really you know, for so long I was so scared of wanting to just fit into like this very cool box, no earrings, no nothing. But like I want this to be a sense of like me doing this was for me. When I look in the mirror, I'll be like, hey, I really look nice with my earrings on. Or I want to like try different earrings. I want to like do this and that. And like you see, even as I'm speaking about it, I'm like, that was all of the ideas that came by because it at the core of it, I was really making a decision for myself. When I understood that I was not necessarily making getting piercings for other people, but it was for me, I got to a point where I was confident in me looking at the negative feedback and saying, hey, I see you, I hear you, but I'm still going to do it. Because I understand that your perspective of me, of the reason why I'm doing this, may be that, but I know in me that that's not true. And so I'm going to be getting piercings. And, I got them and it was really cool. I really enjoyed them. I even got like cross earrings. I really love those as well. And yeah, man. So, yeah. So I bring that up because it was the first time where I was faced with two pathways. I could have gone with like, hey man, they think that I'm doing this for this, and so let me just not get it to, not like to not go against what they think or to kind of like maybe prove them right or whatever. Or I could have said, hey, I've really asked myself this question, I've really interrogated myself, and I realized that I'm not doing this for other people, I'm doing this for me. And I'm still going to do it in hearing them. I'm going to hear and I still love them and everything, but I'm still going to do it. And me choosing to do it still was such a pivotal moment because it allowed me to really make a decision and stand on it. Right? And that was a very interesting moment. That was a really looking back, it's like, wow, it was very bold. It was very bold of me to do that. It shows you that, sometimes you are going to have to make those decisions and go against what other people maybe want or want you to do as well. All right. So, as we're now coming to a close, there's a point which I do want to reiterate is that with in me doing all of this, from me going from braids, doing my braids, doing ear piercings, tattoos, and everything in between, I will say that one of the things is like this just didn't show up. Like I didn't just like wake up recently and I was like, hey, I want to do this. These are things which I've really wanted to do for a long time. But a reason why I didn't want to do them or didn't do them before as opposed to now was a lot of it was tied in fear. And it was either a fear of other people or a fear of God, and specifically his discipline. And firstly, I think when I think about why I was afraid to do it because of other people, it was usually based on this fear of like, what if it doesn't look right? What if someone thinks this of me now? And especially as a Christian, like, what if this person thinks I'm a bad Christian? And I know like saying these things is like, even me, I'm like, damn, I think even though I can look back and I'd be like, hey, maybe a bit of that was irrational in that moment, in those seasons. Those fears were real to me. They were so real that they impacted my behavior. They impacted how I operated in. I think another thing that also impacted that was I also had a fear of making mistakes in front of other people. And that was another thing that really chained me, because I didn't want to make a mistake in front of other people. I didn't want to make a wrong decision in front of other people. I didn't want other people to see me trying to do something different, and maybe it doesn't come off, And that, to me, that was the worst thing that could have happened. I wanted to speak about that, because that's a very real fear, and also encourage you to fight that, to keep fighting against that, honestly, to keep building, to keep journeying. Maybe it's not in the big things, but it's in the small things, making small decisions each day, to make yourself comfortable with making mistakes in front of people. And one of the remedies to that as well is humility. I had to develop a humility. I realized, shout out to also Toto, because he did say this to me before, but I was very prideful. I didn't see myself as someone was who was worthy of making mistakes. Like, I desired everything that I do had to be perfect. Everything that I said had to be perfect. The way that I showed up, the way that I did things, the way that I dressed, the way that I talked, the way that I did everything had to be perfect. And so that was also something which I had to break down. Those two fears of other people, and also of me, of my own pride. I had to break that down, to really start to answer these questions of who am I more honestly, and with more, and to build my self-awareness. So I'd also encourage you, and yeah, hope if you do resonate with that, man, I feel you. I feel you a lot, man. And then the second bit, which I said, was that I struggled with a fear of God's discipline. I was afraid of making mistakes. I said it before, but my relationship with God, I treated my relationship with God very rigidly, in that I didn't want to do anything that could make him sad. I didn't want to do anything that could make him mad, which in the right context is a good thing. It's a good thing to want our Father to always be smiling, to always be happy with us. But I had perverted it in a way that I was now so afraid to even, like, it's like decision paralysis. I don't want to do anything because I don't want to make God sad. I didn't want to do anything because I didn't want to make God angry. And that fear of God's discipline or making him sad stopped me from doing a lot of things that he probably would have delighted in me doing, or that would have led to my growth. And so I really had to develop, I really had to grow in, honestly, for that I had to just grow in my love of God. I had to grow in, like, discovering who I had to learn, I had to approach God differently, and learn about him, learn about his character more. And I think I only got that as I got into his word, and as I got into, in journeying with people in church. Because another way that we learn is through a community. As we see how God moves and operates with different people, we are also learning as well. That's why the Bible is built on people's lives, because we are seeing God, work with different people, speak to different people, journey and do life with different people. So those are two things that I had to learn, and yeah, so I would definitely encourage you, just like continue growing in, learning who God is and his character for yourself, especially. And don't be afraid of his discipline. You know, he did. I had to learn that he disciplines those he loves. So even if I did make a mistake, I had to learn that he disciplines those he loves, and that I had to fall in love with his rod and staff, and I had to allow them, that his discipline comforted me, because I knew that it meant he cared. And that is something which, it's something, as I said it before, but it's, with God, it's a trust fall. You are learning to trust. You're learning to let go of certain, beliefs and traits, and really, like, just say, God, man, I made this decision. I'm going to trust that you're going to catch me. If that means I made a wrong decision and need to discipline me, I trust you enough to do it. I know that you are faithful and you are loving enough to do it in the right way, that you are doing this out of your best interest of me. And that's something which I had to really learn, honestly. And yeah, so I had to learn that as well. Those are the two things I had to really, really learn. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for me and for us today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching, or however you are consuming this content. I really appreciate you very much. I hope that it has been insightful, and it has been helpful and encouraging in all of our journeys to keep growing more confident and more God confident, and yeah, making decisions, doing and building our boldness and courageousness in God, of course. So yeah, thank you very much, and I will see you all somewhere, somehow on one of these channels. Most probably, I will see you tomorrow on Seas of the Cross. So yeah, thank you very much. Peace.